Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. Definitely subscribe to the channel because I talk about all different kinds of things. But today I'm gonna do a little bit of a rant. Sorry, but I want to talk about how the internet has made people classless and vile. And I have I wrote a Word document writing down some of my like bullet points here because you guys know how I am. You guys know that once I start like talking, I go on these streams of consciousness that sometimes get out of hand. So the first point I want to mention in how the internet has made people act this way is the purity spiraling. Nobody likes purity spiraling, but this is a thing now because the internet has created so many, I guess you could say, niche communities or hyper niche communities. And so you have a lot of people that kind of isolate themselves in these communities. They create like echo chambers and they only interact with those people. And so when somebody comes in that isn't like them or maybe has a different opinion or whatever, there is the purity spiraling behavior. I would call this, I would classify this as part of the terminally online behaviors that we're witnessing. I want to call out prideful behavior. There is a lot of prideful behavior on the internet. You guys know if you're on social media, if you go on to X or what used to be Twitter is now X or what have you, what do you see in the comments? Not just there, but you know, people's behavior online, generally speaking. There are a lot of creators here on YouTube who are very prideful, and a lot of their content that is obvious, that behavior. And so I would say too that for people who are Christians, this is something that Christians struggle with. Prideful behavior, because in their minds, they think that if you're living a Christian lifestyle, if you go to church, there's a tendency to think that I'm doing the right things, and then therefore the implication is I'm better than other people maybe, or other people who aren't there yet. And so there is this kind of judgmental behavior that comes from a lot of Christians online. And I know because I'm a Christian and I have, I'm not like, I mean, there's so many different communities, I guess, that I am part of online or that I interact with and engage with online. In some of the Christian communities, there is a lot of prideful behavior coming from some of the Christians, shall we say, in their zeal to talk about their faith. They sometimes judge other people wrongly, or maybe they're too harsh or whatever, or because because they are so excited about, like, oh, I've learned this truth and I want to share it with others, that sometimes the way they approach others comes out off wrong, and they end up pushing people away rather than drawing them towards us, which is what you would want. Now, there is also this desire, I don't know why, to call people out, right? I could understand exposing somebody who is doing something that is harmful, maybe. But I recommend, if you have a disagreement with another creator, why don't you just try reaching out to them privately to talk to them about it? And if you do so in a respectful manner, you might actually find that they're more receptive to what you have to say. But I feel like so many people don't do this. The internet makes it so easy to like dehumanize people. You see, these people on the internet, they put their videos out, and I think that for some reason people feel entitled to just treat them however they want, that, oh, because you're choosing to put yourself on the internet, that somehow justifies this behavior. And this manifests too in I desire to call out the hypocrisy of others. Oh, I'm just pointing out hypocrisy. Oh, I'm just exposing hypocrisy and their lies. And it's like, well, okay, if somebody is a hypocrite, then they're going to expose themselves, right? Why do you personally feel like that's something you need to do? And what that might that suggest about you, right? If you have this strong desire to call out the hypocrisy in others, it might suggest, at least, uh, you know, this is just me and my opinion, but it might suggest that maybe there's a lack of um, self reflection going on in your life, right? Because, like, I'm a busy person, I'm a mom. I do this stuff, also working on a documentary. Like, I don't really have the time to hyper fixate on what other creators are doing and looking for like hypocrisy to call out. I don't necessarily have the time to even do that. And like, why would I want to? If somebody is a hypocrite, then it's going to be evident and obvious in the incongruity between how they portray themselves online and the things they proclaim to represent, the values they proclaim to have versus the lifestyle they're actually leading. People like that tend to expose themselves over time. So why are you not in your free time looking at yourself, right? Reflecting on your own hypocrisy, because guess what? Every single person here is a hypocrite. You too. Now, there are things I've seen recently, and I don't necessarily want to get into the drama of it, but calling somebody out for maybe baking a cake is a little silly. But it's also a little silly to pretend like that video wasn't what it was. Um, I've seen people recently go after another creator's child who passed away in a tragic accident. Why on earth would that be something that you would think to do? Really? What is it going on in your life that causes you to say, hey, you know what? I don't like this person. I have a disagreement with them. So let me go dig through their internet history, look for information about their past, and then find ways that I can try to criticize them by exploiting a tragedy to call a mother negligent who lost a child. Even if you're not a parent, do you not have any empathy or compassion? What are you thinking? What went through your mind when you thought it would be a good idea to even bring up somebody's child, let alone something like that? And I'm not going to point out who this person is. If you know, you know. But it just boggles my mind that any person on YouTube would think that that was acceptable, like, at all. What is going on with you, even if you're not a parent? Do you have any idea what grief is like for a mother to lose their child? Parents aren't supposed to bury their children. You have no right to talk about it at all. And it's disgusting. And I really wonder what went wrong in your life that this is what you're doing with your life. This is how you spend your time. And you thought that this made you look good? Did you think that that was a flex? It baffles me. Like, literally, what are you doing? And if you don't have anything nice to say, maybe say nothing. Like, this used to be a thing, right? I mean, that's kind of what I have been abiding by, because I've learned my lesson in the past of trying to uh, disagree with people in this way, right? I've had times when I've been prideful where I have felt like I needed to call people out. And every single time I've done it, usually I've regretted it. The internet provides a barrier that allows people to say vile things that they wouldn't otherwise say to somebody in person to their face. And I think that that is a big problem. Um, there are a lot of also attention seeking behaviors, which of course the internet contributes to. The social media promotes and rewards narcissism. The algorithm is designed to keep you engaging, and people understand that if they want to do well with the algorithm, they behave in certain ways, we'll just say, that they know are going to trigger people or trigger the algorithm. And it's just, yeah, the attention seeking goes for men and women, by the way. They all are engaging in attention seeking behaviors. The oversharing, this is another thing. Why are so many people oversharing online? The internet is not where you go to unload your trauma or whatever. I think that sometimes it's appropriate to talk about these things for educational purposes, but if you're oversharing and you're putting out every little detail about your life online, I don't think that that is classy. It's like, ugh, it's a little weird. The nitpicking. This is another terminally online behavior. People start spending so much time online that they're hyper fixating online and on other people online. And they start nitpicking down to certain words somebody uses. Oh, well, you didn't say this word. You use that word. It's like, what? The critiques, right? The criticisms. It is one thing, like I said, to expose somebody who's doing something harmful that really does deserve to be exposed, or somebody that other people are afraid to expose because maybe that person exerts inordinate influence and intimidates others into silence. Sometimes that is an issue. And so I could see something like that. But there are valid criticisms, and then there's just nitpicking in order to be nasty and to have drama and gossip to talk about. Calling people names. Why are we calling people names? Like whale or bimbo? What is the purpose of this? What ultimately does that accomplish? I think it's one thing in jest to, if you're joking and it's understood that you're being funny or you're making like a comedic video, comedic critique. I've done that before. I've done comedic critiques where I criticize somebody and critique them, but I do so in a lighthearted fashion, and I'll make jokes along the way so that everyone knows, like, we're not taking this too seriously, right? Because it's just the internet. Even like there are people that I have criticized that I always make sure to try to be respectful in my criticisms, even if the person is not somebody that deserves it and wouldn't give me the same courtesy. It's just like, what kind of person do you want to be? And then this goes into this digging into people's pasts. There's a lot of people on here who are hyper political, or they're just hyper online in general. And when they find somebody that they don't like or that triggers them, that they disagree with, they start digging into their past and looking for things, or they look for things to leak, like they look for incriminating things on somebody, or how can I make them look bad? Oh, let me find DMs to leak, or this or that. Literally, what are you doing? Because if that's how you treat your enemy, if I was your friend, I wouldn't feel like, you're too good of a friend or someone I could trust. If you're going to post somebody's leaked DMs, why wouldn't you do that to me? If I'm your friend, that's what I'm thinking, right? Does that make sense? And yet I still see this happening in the year 2024. And so I want to share some quotes from the Bible that are relevant, I think, to this. Quote, "But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. That's Matthew 12:36 through 37. By your words, you'll be justified or condemned. So everything that you say, you're going to have to give an account of. You're going to be accountable one day. You may get away with this stuff now, or you may think that you have, but eventually you're going to have to account for all of it. All of it. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles. But what dost thou judge thy brother? Why dost thou set at naught thy brother? For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of Christ. For as it is written, As I live, saith the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to God. So then every one of us shall give account of himself to God. Like, why are you judging your brother, right? When you're going to be judged too. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. So if you're speaking, you're only supposed to say things that are edifying to others. You know? Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Why do people not like live by this anymore? That's, even if you're not a Christian, it's still very wise, you have to admit, is it not? It's good advice. It's sage wisdom, and it is true, by the way. It is true, because when you do these things, there are other people that are watching you, and think about just the kind of person that you want to be. Do you really want to be the kind of person that is acting in this classless, vile manner to other people online? Why? Because you disagree with them. Is the disagreement so great that people are willing to stoop to these levels to kind of like do gotchas to each other? It is disturbing to me, and I don't think it's very nice. I don't think that anyone should be doing this, like Christian or not. You should understand that, like, how you treat people and how you talk about your enemies, it does matter. People are watching that. And I wouldn't want to associate with or be friends with people who act like this, because this is not how people act in the real world. Like I said, the internet provides this barrier for people where they feel empowered to say things. They feel entitled to treat people in ways that they never would do in person, and to talk to people in ways that they never would do in person if they had to look into their eyes and see how what they're saying affects somebody, And so that's what I would just caution people to have a little more class. I think we could all do that, Everybody is so focused on what's going on in the world and what other people are doing. And I feel like the whole world would be a lot better if we all just spent that energy that we're putting out there and spent it on ourselves and saying, you know what? I want to be a positive person. When I talk, I want to say nice things. I don't want to be known as somebody who, would talk about my enemies this way. It's not appropriate, and it's not nice, and it's just wrong. So I think that everybody can do better, myself included. Like, I have done things in the past that, I am embarrassed of or ashamed of. And so my advice to people is to try to treat people on the internet, whether you agree with them or not, the way that you would want to be treated, and treat them how you would treat somebody if you just came across them in your day-to-day life, right? There's plenty of people that you work with that you don't agree with everything on, and yet you can still go through your day perfectly fine without, being nasty to each other. You don't have to agree with everybody on everything for everybody to get along, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm interested to know, what do you guys think of this? Do you think that the internet has contributed to people becoming classless and um, acting toxic and becoming more and more narcissistic? Or is this just me? Am I also too terminally online? All right, guys, have a good day. Whee!